Rowdy Roddy Piper. His name in the World Wrestling Federation is synonymous with only one word: legend. During his glory days, the proud man from Scotland taught many opponents the hard way of the ring. And if they didn't listen, off to the pit they went. As acting president of the World Wrestling Federation, things have been no different. Now ruling from his Oval Office, the Oval Pit, Roddy Piper once again has the final word. But who knew that such power would turn a bizarre individual on? From the hills of Hollywood, the unique Goldust seemed to have been taken with the authoritative president. In fact, he not only dedicated a poem to him, but he expressed his innermost feelings towards him in a special Goldust pit of his own. Now a man in office, Piper knew it was in his best interest to turn the other cheek, but when he did, he was slapped in an act of violent rage. Pushed to his limit, Piper responded in typical Roddy fashion. This brings us to our topic today, the infamous Hollywood Backlot Brawl between Rowdy Roddy Piper and Goldust at WrestleMania 12. My name is Karl Carafell, alongside my vintage friend, Mighty Joe, and this is Turnbuckle Rewind.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a fun one. This was a matchup that when we started doing this show for Love Wrestling, it was right near the top of ones that I wanted to, mainly, Karl, just because it involves my favorite professional wrestler of all time, Canada's very own Mr. Rowdy Roddy Piper. Yeah, man. I mean, it's one of these ones where it's like I almost kind of don't want to say too much and just kind of hop into it, but we will a little bit. Because the other thing too to keep in mind with this, there's a few things I want to make note of here. This WrestleMania 12 card, like just outside of this match, I mean, there was a lot going on in this show. And what was interesting at this time too, I don't know if you remember this, and I believe it may have been on one of the major networks. I think it was Fox or one of these other ones where they actually aired like portions of WrestleMania, like not only like the entire show, but they actually aired like certain matches occasionally on network television, which was different for the time, and we don't see that current day either. So this was not only was this a great match from WrestleMania 12, it was kind of a stacked WrestleMania just in itself.
We definitely do actually see a little bit of network television playing stuff from WrestleMania. It's usually a little bit of time afterwards, but we'll get like the USA Network that'll do like WWE Week, and then they'll take like a couple of matches or whatever from the WrestleMania prior and play those in a 1 hour, 1.5 hour type of episode. So, I mean, for a long while, though, they didn't. They really strayed away from that. And it's only been recently, probably within the last 3 years, I would say, that they have kind of, like, USA Network doing a WWE Week where they're playing different classic things as well as different things from the WWE Network on just the television itself for anyone that has the USA Network, which I think is a fantastic idea for them to be able to kind of get the product out there a little bit more and maybe garner a few new fans from just a week-long showing of different professional wrestling.
Yeah, because I mean, on this card, like, we had Taker versus Diesel. We had the Iron Man match between Shawn and Brett, Saga Vega and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, he had just kind of transitioned from the ringmaster to the Stone Cold character, as well as this match. And the interesting thing with this match that we're talking about here today, Karl, the Hollywood Backlot Brawl, is that I like how it was executed because like it it wasn't like a traditional match, and it kind of like flowed through like that part of the show, where we had like matches that kind of happened like as they were like doing the chase, which we'll kind of give into all that. But it was interesting how it kind of flowed through that portion of the show to when they actually came back into the ring to actually finish the quote unquote match off. So it was executed really, really well.
It definitely was. I mean, this was, I guess maybe you can almost say cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kind of not really movie style, but just very different from what we had ever seen before. I mean, we had seen matches that happened in the back, and that was all stuff that was pretty normal. But to have cutaways and move on to something else, move on to another matchup, move on to an interview that happened, and then cutting back to the chase scene. That we will definitely be looking at here. Very, very interesting way to have done this. Executed so perfectly, though.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Looking forward to talking about this one, and there's some legitimate parts in this match, which I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We'll kind of get into that. Let's hit play on this doozy of a match here, Karl, and let's get this rolling.
All right.
Backlot Brawl. We're going to take you there momentarily. Of course, earlier on we saw
first back to the days when Vince was still doing commentary. One of the things that he was legitimately good at. I will give Vince credit.
Yeah, he definitely was. So we've got Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler here doing commentary, which I mean the pairing of those two really worked very well. They really fed off of each other nicely, which was pretty cool.
In terms of her abilities.
And for those, I mean, those aren't seeing the visual on this, but we're actually seeing Marlena sitting backstage, and visually she was a big attraction at the time. And
yes,
this match and everything kind of surrounded, the timing wise of it. This is basically. You can make the argument that this kind of set the stage for the Attitude Era. This Backlot Brawl, because it was about a year afterwards when it kind of officially kicked off. But you could say that this kind of set the groundwork for it. And here we go. We have Piper out in the parking lot with Goldust bearing down on a gold Cadillac by the looks of it.
It definitely is a gold Cadillac, and I mean, the announcers did a really good job with everything here. Just like you heard there, if you heard it, Vince McMahon saying that Piper said that he was going to wet down the entire area, and he actually used a fire hose and literally sprayed the car down and anything that was around it.
Yeah. And there's some very real moments in this match here, Karl, and Piper smashing the car with the baseball bat. I mean, there's just no way of quote-unquote faking that. I mean, he went to town on it, and now he's going to town on Goldust himself.
He definitely is. Just swinging that bat like a professional Major League Baseball player and swinging it with authority.
Yep.
Just smashing everything around right now. So the vehicle's gotten smashed. Goldust has gotten hit with the baseball bat. Goldust being thrown into a table that had catering outside. A garbage can now in play. And ladies and gentlemen, we are only like 2.5 minutes into this.
Barely. Yeah, there was an interview done with Dustin Rhodes, better known as Goldust, and actually that moment right there is one that he talked about. He, in an interview, discussed this match. He legitimately got injured going into that garbage can. He said that was real, and he got hurt. And this was not the only moment that this happened.
And the garbage can spoken of was a large dumpster that Roddy Piper threw Goldust into. So not only an actual garbage can, but now a garbage dumpster as well coming into play. Just for back then, this was brutality.
Yeah, it was one, and again, right into that. That was not a fake dumpster, in Dustin's own words. And there were some. This was like one of those times, Karl, where they just kind of let them shoot on each other, for lack of a better term, and using insider terminology. Coming up here, we're going to see like some very, very brutal stuff here. Oof.
being, brutal right there. Goldust being thrown headfirst onto the hood of that gold Cadillac and then being body slammed onto that Cadillac. And right here coming up is what Joe is talking about.
These are the only way I can refer to this here, Karl. Well, we have a bit of a knee drop there, and then some legit punches happening here. You might have actually heard that one, and then this next one. I mean, that was just that was just a full-on punch.
Yeah,
like
it definitely was.
It didn't look like it was even pulled that much, and actually, Roddy actually broke his hand there. By the way, a little insider story for there. Piper broke his hand, punching him straight in the face.
And I'm hoping we stayed quiet enough that everybody could hear that sound, that thud that happened with that second punch, because it was how Goldust did not get knocked out with that punch. I still don't understand, because that was crazy.
Yeah. And then he backed into the white Bronco, which will get used later. And this was another one where I guess Piper had told him, he's like, come at me with the car, and then Dustin did. And again, from his own words, he thought that he had actually like killed Piper at this point. He's like, God. He's like, oh shit, I killed him.
Right?
Like,
thankfully, the camera angle on that was actually really good to be able to show that Piper was actually able to jump up onto the hood of that vehicle. They drove down that back alleyway a little bit, crashing into another garbage dumpster that was on wheels. Goldust is now taken off, and Roddy Piper is making his way over to that white Bronco, hopping in, starting it up, and taking off himself. So you'll hear the squeal.
Yeah, into the white Bronco. So I'm going to do a quick search here. The O.J. Simpson trial.
And then after that, we actually had come back to inside the building. Came to a matchup, and now we're back to, seeing these guys live as they...
Right?
Yeah.
It's so there's a couple of ways to look at this here. I mean, at the time, I didn't make the connection as would have been a 16-year-old because the O.J. Simpson trial happened a year before.
Yeah.
And then they actually used the footage of this to show that you only saw the white Bronco kind of going, so I'm left kind of going, well, where's Goldust? But
right.
It was clever, it was silly, it was stupid, it was strange, it was funny. Like it was like all those emotions all wrapped into one. I'm like, especially now in retrospect, it's like, wow, they really used the OJ chase in this segment.
They definitely did. The news footage that you would have seen on your televisions during the time where the police were chasing down O.J. Simpson in that white Bronco, creative was spot on when they thought about doing this. And then we actually do come back to what is considered a live video feed footage where we see the gold-colored Cadillac and the white Bronco both coming back to the arena. Ooh.
Yeah, Dustin had actually just opened the door there, and Piper almost smacked him. So, and back briefly on the OJ footage, in Vince's own words, he said, that footage looks strangely familiar. Yeah, he was definitely correct. So now we're making our way actually inside the arena now. Dustin or Goldust come up with Marlena here, and Piper's on the warpath.
He definitely is. He is walking with attitude and authority, just as Piper always did, to be honest, ripping open a door to get in there. Goldust taking a bit of a breather, realizing that Roddy Piper is there, and cameras starting to go back towards to see where Piper is and how far away he is.
Yeah. It was one of these ones, Karl, where when they do these backstage kind of segments, they feel rehearsed because like the cameras are kind of fixed in place. This really worked because like the cameras were like always kind of moving, so it made it feel more legit and like it was actually like spontaneously happening. That's again what a big portion of this why it really made that work. Now they've actually made it out to the ring where the fans are.
They definitely have, and you're right. Like camera work for this was just absolute spot on, fantastic, because it didn't feel as though it was rehearsed. It didn't feel like, oh, we have to make sure that we're in this spot, X. We have to make sure that they're at X and we're on our spot. They were all over the place going, where is he? We need to find this person. And they're almost like running towards where somebody might be, trying to find them.
Yeah. And now we're both guys just laying the smackdown on each other, for lack of a better term. Piper
Back inside the ring.
Piper not even in ring attire. He's just dressed as regular everyday Piper. And honestly, that was my favorite version of Piper. Just seeing him do this kind of stuff. Yeah, his actual wrestling matches were absolutely fantastic, in my personal opinion. But seeing him in these Raw kind of things like that, I got like a special enjoyment out of that. And one of the main reasons, Karl, why this man is still my favorite of all time.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, Roddy Piper could play any part that he needed to, that he wanted to. We just saw, well, we didn't see because of edits, right. But Goldust actually had taken his foot and stomped Roddy Piper in the Little Pipers.
Yes, in the family jewels, so to speak. No foreign object required there.
No.
That's actually a term that I don't think I've heard in modern day wrestling in a long time here, Karl. I guess you could say this was maybe a signature move in the match there from Goldust. But yeah, man, just it's like one of those things where, I mean, the Goldust character was really risque at the time. I mean, nowadays, I guess you could say that it's fairly tame. But I mean, still, like it's one of those characters. I mean, that like pushed a lot of buttons, culturally and personally possibly for some people. It was a very risque thing, and but I mean, to Dustin's credit, he made it work, and he was good at it.
Oh, he was very good at it. For those of you that don't know, the Goldust character was a very overly sexualized type of character. You never knew if there was, heterosexuality or homosexuality or what was going on there. I guess... what was that, asexual? Is that the right term for it? Like,
possibly, yeah.
There really wasn't a sexuality. It was just he's overly sexual.
Yeah.
With everything that he did, it didn't matter. It was everything he did. Whether just like that, we just saw him come back into the ring, and he's just kind of like rubbing his body a little bit as he's walking. Just that little stuff like that really kind of made you wonder.
And what really made this work, because you have that over-the-top sexualized character in Goldust, and then you have Piper, who's your man's man, like no bullshit, straight-up dude, and then you have Goldust right there. You couldn't have more polar opposites of people, and it just said, like I said, that this match it pushed a lot of buttons. They really pushed the envelope of what you could get away with at the time. Like I said, this really laid the groundwork for what would become that attitude era, because up to this point, we hadn't really seen too much of this kind of stuff, especially in the, at the time, WWF.
That's right. And we just witnessed their Goldust was straddling Roddy Piper, who was laying down on the ground, and he was literally rubbing Goldust's body, and then Goldust was rubbing up on Roddy Piper's chest, and then even leaned in to go and kiss Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper realizing and kind of giving him a couple of shots to the face there with his fist. Just odd, but worked so well.
Yeah. I think I said earlier on too, and he actually planned to win on there pretty cleanly. But there were a lot of shoot punches and whatnot in this match, and slaps, and these two guys really. Whether there was a legit beef between these two guys or not, I'm not really sure. But maybe there was, and they just you know what, just let them sort it out. And sometimes that's when some of your best matchups can happen, when there's real flaw in emotion. And Piper was one of the best at showing real emotion. Right there.
Now that you mention that, Roddy Piper grabbing the little Goldusts and just squeezing. With this, though, that kind of makes me wonder. All right, so you talk about, did they actually maybe have a little bit of beef?
Yeah.
Well, was this maybe something that came out of inside term jargon again, wrestler's court?
Could be.
Was this maybe a verdict from Wrestler's Court?
It could be. Very well could be. But Piper grabbing him by the balls and like hopping him and down. It may sound a little weird to some people. Like, it warms my heart to kind of see that because it's just like Piper being Piper in his element, and just I love it so much.
We now got Roddy Piper, who planted a kiss of his own onto Goldust and then starts literally stripping the ring attire off of Goldust, and Goldust doing fantastic with this. You can see that Goldust is trying to actually get out of it as Piper is pulling, and he's doing almost like a gator roll trying to get out of it, and finally it just rips in half. But we see Goldust not naked from the outfit being ripped off of him, but in women's lingerie.
Oh, I think I felt that knee to the balls from here. And that essentially ended the match there, folks. Dropping knee, strike to the balls. Like, I don't think there was no pinfall. It was just like, I think he made his point.
Definitely, that's how it seems. We did have Marlena down at ringside. She did not get involved in the matchup until the very end here, where Goldust got his balls dropped on and rolled outside of the ring, and Marlena taking a jacket and putting it around Goldust as they go to the back as Piper's music plays here.
With a big smile on his face in the middle of that ring. That's good to see, man. That's good to see.
Huge grin on his face.
Yeah.
That's like a satisfaction guaranteed grin.
Man.
Oh, absolutely fantastic to see that.
Just hearing that bagpipe music again, just like it's chills, right? Big smile from Viper, man. Just man, that's so good to see, man. It's been a long time. I've watched this several times, but it's actually been a long time since I've watched it again. And to kind of see this, to go back down memory lane. And I mean, like I said, with Piper being my favorite of all time, like that's the nostalgia, like on a whole new level for myself. And I hope our friends everybody that hopefully had a chance to watch it along with us, hopefully you get the same enjoyment out of that as we both did. I know that I do. It's one of those ones where I truly will never get tired of watching that. I can go back and watch it a gazillion times, and I could still it sends chills. It's hard hitting. It's disturbing at times. It's exciting. It puts a smile on my face. Like, it's like a roller coaster of emotions, And man, it's it's the type of thing where I don't know if it can really be recreated, just given the current landscape of how things are with society these days. But I mean, at the time too, I mean, it was very risque. But it's one of those things where I won't say that it can never be recreated, but like everything lined up and just it was well executed, and just it's really one of those one of a kind. It's not even really fair to call it a match. It's just an encounter maybe between the two guys. Maybe that's not even the best term to use, but
it was just a brawl,
man.
That's it.
Yeah, man. It
was just two guys who seem to have had issues with each other, just kind of going out there and having a fight.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
For this type of thing, like for me, like it ranks it's right up there, and I would even maybe rank it slightly below the Boiler Room Brawl with Undertaker and Mankind, which we will definitely have to do at some point on Turnbuckle Rewind here, because I mean that is one that is just like on the same level of legendary status as this, and yeah, there's probably even a lot of our viewers and listeners who maybe even haven't even had a chance to see that particular one, so we will definitely talk about it. But yeah, to kind of look back on the legacy of both of these guys, I mean, Goldust, what was interesting with the Goldust character in WWE is it actually carried on for a lot longer than I expected. I think a lot of people expected. He made it work for a good portion of time. For the last bit of his run there, I mean, it definitely was a shell of what it formerly was. I think we can all be kind of in agreement with that. But Dustin was always a great worker in the ring, even when he was the natural Dustin Rhodes, and even now over in AEW. He's a great talent in the ring. And that's really not much more that can be said about that. It's just he's the son of Dusty Rhodes, and has definitely carried on that legacy very well. When it comes to Roddy Piper, I mean, like I said, my favorite of all time. I mean, even just outside professional wrestling, what was legitimately trained in judo by Gene LaBelle. And what's interesting, and I've said this to you a few times, I said it on a show, but to slightly kind of embarrass myself here, I mean, I was a lifelong Roddy Piper fan, and several years went by, Karl, before I knew that the actual man was a Canadian. I had legitimately no idea. But I think actually that says a lot for the character. I mean, a lot of those old guys kind of kept a lot of that stuff under wraps, and rightfully so. And I mean, what else can I say about Piper? I mean, he was just like, when it comes to characters in professional wrestling, it was really hard to find somebody as good or better than Piper. One of the best characters of all time. You can make the argument, not the best quote-unquote wrestler, but he didn't need to be. That character was so over the top. Those Piper's pit segments with everybody, Jimmy Snuka, Andre the Giant, that stuff is just legendary and needs to be viewed by every single wrestling fan if you haven't already seen it.
Definitely, you are correct with that. When it comes to Dustin Rhodes, he really was able to keep that Goldust character going by reinventing the Goldust character with just different little quirks with the character. So, I mean, we had the overly sexualized one. We had a comedic one. We had one that almost seemed to have been hit in the head and had a little bit of a speech impediment for a while. And, you know, like he was able to really change it, but still keep the same character. And when it comes to Roddy Piper, in the opening monologue, you heard the one word that is synonymous with Roddy Piper, and that is legend. Now, remember, this was back in, WrestleMania 12. Okay, so we're going into what, WrestleMania 35, 36, 37, something like that. There's a ton of WrestleManias that there has been since then. Now, the wording of legend is actually what was used back then at WrestleMania 12 for Roddy Piper. So I think that we can maybe amp that up a little bit now and say that because of amazing things like this, Roddy Piper is legend immortalized.
Him and Andre, I kind of put at that same kind of level. It's difficult to compare the two because they are so different, but they're two. Like when it comes to like when you want to use like true like Hall of Fame individuals, those, like if I had to like really really narrow it down, like those would be two like right at the top for me, Andre and Piper, because I think that the terminology Hall of Fame, I think it's applied to too many people, possibly a controversial take there, but I think too many kind of get in just for the sake of getting people in. When you want to talk like true, like you said, legendary, immortal wrestling figures, Piper is, like if I had to, I know it's cliche to say that Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, but Piper's on there for me, dude.
And unfortunately, we did lose Roddy Piper.
That would hit me hard, man. That would hit me hard.
July 31st, 2005. Is when we lost Roddy Piper, and it was a very hard hit. 2015, not 2005.
2015.
Yes,
I remember.
July 31st, 2015.
I remember that, Karl, because you and I were still doing online radio at that point, and we were actually talking about setting up an interview with Roddy Piper. We had the conversation, and I think literally like hours or a day or two after that, we found that he had passed away, and it's like, man, it was like one of those bucket list things for me to be able to have an interview with him, and it never happened, and it never will happen now. But thankfully, we can look back on things like this and have fond memories, like really, really fond memories.
We were so far into the process that the email was already composed. Yeah. The letter was composed, and the day that it had, July 31st, we were going to send that email and get things rolling to be able to get Roddy Piper onto our other show. And that's when we found out, right? And it was It was devastating. It was heartbreaking, not because we didn't get the opportunity to interview him, but just because of the love and passion that he had for the business, that we have for the business as well. And we wanted to be able to share that experience together. And we just never got the opportunity to.
Because for myself, I may or may not have stated on shows I've been on, but to simply put it, Karl, everybody listening, everybody watching, potentially if you get to actually see this later on, Roddy Piper is singularly the reason why Mighty Joe Morin is into professional wrestling. He is the one responsible. He's literally the first person I saw, and I was hooked immediately. That's all I can say.
Awesome.
So there you go. That's why any of his matches that he cover are very, very important to me, because he's right at the top for myself. All right, man. Well, that wraps it up here for another episode of Turnbuckle Rewind. But of course, before we do go, we want to do a couple things here, Karl. Before we definitely want to thank our friends over at Love Wrestling again for giving us this platform to look back on these fantastic matches, especially this one, and all the ones that we've already done and all the ones that we will do in the future. Having said that, we do really want to hit on one other big thing. Karl, I want you to tell us about the Trevor Project.
Well, as everybody knows, this month is Pride Month. And over at the Trevor Project, they are amazing people over there that help anybody worldwide. This isn't just an American thing or a European thing or an Asian thing. No, it is worldwide what the Trevor Project does. They help those that are worried, scared, afraid, unsure of how to express themselves as being somebody within that community. If you're having issues, whether it is, like I said, just not understanding how to get it out there to your friends or to your family and not knowing how to express it, or if you're having feelings of life-taking situations, the Trevor Project is there for you. And if you want to help anyone with their journey, we got you. And we want you guys to help us out as well. We have a website that you guys can go to, donate.tiltify.com/@lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project, which will be on our social media pages for all of you to be able to just simply click that link. Donate.tiltify.com/@lovewrestlingca/The Trevor Project. If financially you cannot help give something to this, then share it out for us. That's all we ask. Our goal for this month has been to raise $1,000, and I can tell you, as of the last that I know, we are sitting at $717 into that goal already, and we are only at, as of recording this, the 8th day of June, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, our viewers and listeners and supporters and subscribers have been absolutely amazing. I did just not necessarily off on a tangent, but like we've been a part of some other things where we've done like fundraisers and charities. You get like a couple dollars, you get like $10 or something. Like you said, Karl, we're at literally a day over a week, and we're already like 3/4 of our goal. That is absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane to me.
That just shows you that, the world of professional wrestling is not all bad things. It transcends. It definitely does. And the fan base within the world of professional wrestling is showing that love is love. And if they love wrestling, I mean, they're going to help support, right? And that's exactly what a number of people have done. They love wrestling, and they love, and they understand that everyone deserves love. Yep. And they're helping to support an amazing place that is helping people out.
Yep. And it just so happens that our platform happens to be called Love Wrestling. That's why that name of our platform is just so ingenious. And it was such a pleasure to be part of what we're doing here. All right, man.
It definitely is. Well, let's tell people what they can do and where they can go. So not only that website for the Trevor Project, but if you want to listen to any program that's available on the Love Wrestling platform, go to lovewrestling.ca. An amazing website that's there. You're able to find things real nice and easy. You click on the podcast section, and that's going to get you to Turnbuckle Rewind. But there's so much there that you can go and listen to, look at, videos that you can see. And all of the social media links for Love Wrestling are available right there at lovewrestling.ca. So if you want to follow them on Facebook, it's just a click. You want to follow them on Twitch? Just a click. You want to follow them on YouTube? Just a click. That's all it is. Make sure you go and check out lovewrestling.ca.
Yeah, because even our other show, Turnbuckle Talk, has made its way over to Love Wrestling as well. And our most recent episode, which you can catch now on our platform, but coming up this Thursday, I got the day right, you'll be able to see our most recent episode. And we actually had From Between Two Beers, Mr. Joseph Poulin Jr., otherwise known as JPJ, on there. It was an absolutely fantastic episode. You guys will be able to check it out over on Love Wrestling as well. So some cool things happening. It's a great time to be doing this kind of stuff here, Karl. And like I said, forever grateful to be part of this wonderful platform that's growing by the minute, it seems. So, absolutely incredible. All right, man. To wrap up here for this week, I will let you send us off with those famous words.
Hashtag be kind, always rewind. And we love wrestling.
Become the best version of yourself with RK Athletics. Whether it's by losing weight, building muscle, or performing at a high level, RK Athletics is here to help you build your confidence in life uninhibited. Check out RK Athletics on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at RK Athletics 1 to learn more about in-person and online personal training. RK Athletics. Become the best version of yourself and live your life to the fullest.